I think
Just all
Yay, we're live. Hello, hello, and welcome to everyone that is at work and multitask and put us on anyways. Everybody that watches the replay. We are so happy to be here with you today. Another day of Tuesday Talks with Unlocking Freedom in Nature, where we like you to discover, experience, and transform, specifically out in nature if you can. I'm Lori Beard, and I am here with my co-host Tammy Crawford. Hello, Tammy.
hello, Larry. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. And we have Tomás Garza, Reverend Tomás Garza today. And he is an amazing person. He's a lifelong traveler, which I'm excited about that because we're going to have a lot of questions, and a former U.S. Peace Corps volunteer who has lived in the U.S., Mexico, Spain, and Mongolia. So he's an amazing person that I'm excited to have a conversation with. His mission in life is to share love and kindness with everyone he meets, helping them see their own light through his actions. So, welcome, Tomas. How are you?
Welcome, Tomas.
thank you. I'm doing really well. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you're tuning in from Arizona, correct?
Yes, I'm in the Phoenix area down here.
Uh,
It is
So what I
very
love
hot
about
in Dallas.
Tomas's his little mission, it's exactly what I love that kindness, that love, which is something we like to spread in this group. So
Excellent.
Yeah, and it's very hot here in Dallas. I cannot imagine, Tomas, how is it in Arizona? Our fellow friend there from Arizona, I think he's in the Mesa area, is Eric Alikpala. So hello to Eric. You have someone right there that lives there from our group. But how is it over there, and how are you enjoying nature in this weather?
It's beautiful. It's still hot. And one thing that's very different about Arizona as compared to Dallas is we don't have the humidity that you do. So it's not sticky. It's actually cooling down now because it's late August now, and we have not had a 110-degree day for about a week now. And
wow.
that's been quite nice. It's a nice change because it gets hot.
Yeah. Well, I know I've noticed a change here in our area. I mean, this week's probably at least 10 degrees cooler than last week.
Mm,
So you can tell autumn's coming in. The nights are getting a little
yeah.
bit cooler. I live in a four season area up in North Idaho.
Mm,
So we get the definite seasons, but we did have some of those 90-degree, 100-degree days, which is supposed to be going up next week. So, which is nice.
hmm Yeah. Yeah. This time of year, a lot of people enjoy nature at a higher elevation. So here in Arizona, we're actually quite fortunate. We're close to some higher elevations and some mountains, and you only really have to drive a couple of hours away to have the temperature go down 15 to 20 degrees and be in a cooler environment. So that's quite nice.
So, what do you have to tell us, Tomas, about being a U.S. Peace Corps, traveling so much? What can you do to inspire audience to take that time to go through those experiences in their life?
Well, I think, gosh, the Peace Corps was wild. That was around 1999 and 2000 when I did that, and I think that traveling it has always helped me, not just that experience, but actually all of my travel experiences have helped me to see things differently. It's a shift in perspective that I think is easy for people in a kind of a daily grind or the rut of everyday activity to sort of lose sight of. And we get stuck in routines that we want a break from. And it doesn't take more than even just going for a 2 or 3 hour drive, actually, to create a profound mental reset. And the more often that you can do it, the better. You come back to the same circumstance, but as we know from having traveled, you're different. the situation's still the same, your job's still the same, you're having the same conversations with your clients, for example, but you've changed because you've been able to experience different things, meet different people, see different things, and process. It always really, really helped me to process life.
Process life.
Mm.
Very, very interestingly, I see people that are from Asian countries and things like that here in the Dallas area.
Mhm.
Their tradition or their habit, according to a type of study, I know we are very familiar with Chinese traditional medicine, but there's also something, I'm not sure that I'm going to say it, pronounce it correctly. It's from India. It's called Ayurveda. And I see just elderly, like people walking right down up and down their street. And the reason I mentioned this is because you mentioned a 2 hour drive. And I'm sure that is transformational, and you become a different person because you have seen different scenery or meet new people. At the same time, just stepping outside in front of your own house or apartment, in the parking lot of an apartment complex, in front of your own sidewalk, in front of your own house, just breathing fresh air, just getting outside of the four walls, right? With that recirculating air conditioner, if you are so fortunate to have air conditioning and things like that, also can be transformative and bring about a new perspective of your day. But anything, any effort, anything you can do different is a plus. Thank you
But
for sharing
I
that.
do understand exactly what Thomas is going. It's like our ventures. That's why we want to offer our ventures, our retreats in island tropical areas, or have you come to North Idaho so you can experience something new, experience a different culture. And both are so good for you. In your everyday, you should just step outside, just like Lori said. Get outside every single day to breathe that fresh air. But then take at least once a week to go travel elsewhere, even if it's 10 minutes away, an hour away. It's like went out last Friday and just exploring, and it was an hour away from us, but we went up north and we discovered some new rivers, new waterfalls, and it's just that experience, getting away, and because you're just focused on what you see, so you forget about all those other stressful things that you're dealing with, and you're just looking at it's like, oh, this is amazing. And I met a guy, because sometimes you'll meet people on the different trails and stuff, and he had just climbed 4 miles up to this cabin, and came back down. So we went 8 miles in one day, which is pretty good. And it was only like one in the afternoon. So, but it's amazing, just like you said, the different perspectives and stuff. And I was telling him about a lake that we'd gone to a week before. He's like, "You haven't told anybody about that secret lake, our secret lake up here, have you?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't. I didn't mention it, because it's for the people that live in that area. We sometimes don't tell our secret spots where we go because we like to keep those just for us."
I love it.
Because those are times that it's like spend time with God and nature. You're just there alone, and there's nothing more rewarding than that.
So, Tomas, do you have a secret spot too?
I I do. I actually live in one secret spot, and it's very inaccessible.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
and
It's a secret. So
you don't have to divulge which one is it, but what is it there that you like a lot about that place?
what I like is the quiet. What I like is the isolation. This particular spot does not have a lot of human traffic. It's remote, it's inaccessible, and it's very quiet. And that's always been something that I've really enjoyed.
Do
And,
you,
Especially,
and that's what's in my secret spot. It's like a beautiful lake and stuff, but it's like you have to hike there. It's a spot where not it's very low accessible. You can't get there just by you can't just drive right there, with a
yes.
normal car.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and this spot happens to be on top of a mountain with quite a view where you can see hundreds of miles and you see mountain valleys and lots of sky. It's pretty amazing.
Beautiful. Well, if you come up here, I'll share mine and
Ah,
we'll go down there.
There you
But
go.
I totally, totally get it. It's nice when you have those spots where there's not a ton of people, because that's what you're kind of seeking, just to get out away from people. And it's not saying that interaction isn't bad for you and networking's bad. We do that all the time. And as a reverend pastor, I'm sure you talk to people all the time, but there's a time you've just got to get away for yourself,
mhm.
you know.
For
Yes.
the believers there out there, even Jesus did that, right? When John the Baptist, his cousin, was, you know, um, no more. He wanted to spend some time alone. He had that desire. Did he get it? I don't know. I don't think so, because people kept following him for more teachings and all that. But everybody has that right, that desire, that need to have that urgent privilege of like spending time away. And Tomas, your beautiful name is Hispanic, I take. And then I want to know a little bit about that, the effect of culture that traveling has on culture. So, how did your experience in the Peace Corps shape your perspective on travel and cultural immersion? Like, what experiences did that give you, and how did it influence your current lifestyle or the thing you're doing for the community?
I think that that experience was absolutely transformative. I knew it would be going in because it's just one of those things that people that seek out an experience like the Peace Corps are looking for a mind blowing experience, and it most definitely does not disappoint in that. And even though I've spoken Spanish my entire life, I've grown up in New Mexico, and I speak Spanish every day here in Arizona. And even though that was the case, I wound up in Mongolia and learning a completely different language, living in a small community of about 15 to 20,000 people, 1,000 kilometers away from the capital city. Mongolia, at the time, the turn of the century, was the most sparsely populated country in the world. So
How did that opportunity show up? How did that happen?
it was the what happens in the Peace Corps is I went and I served in the Peace Corps with my former wife. What happens is you have to have certain skills and they match your skills. I was an English teacher in the Peace Corps, and they match your own skills with a host country request. So not a single one of our options was in Latin America or a Spanish speaking country. They were all in Eastern Europe or Central Asia. We had a choice, in fact, between Mongolia, Poland, and Kazakhstan. At the time, Poland was not in the EU, and they still had a Peace Corps program. This was 1999. But we thought, okay, well, we could go to Poland and we could live pretty well. We could take the train to Berlin and keep going. We go to Munich and go see Germany. We go down to Prague and do Europe and have a great time. But we thought, no, we really want more of the adventure than that. So we're going for outer Mongolia, and we got
Wow.
it. So we got what we wanted.
Sounds amazing. Sounds amazing. What are the beautiful things they have there that impacted you the most about the outdoors or nature?
It's so vast. What it is it's a herding society. They're nomadic or semi-nomadic herders traditionally, and there are no fences. There's no private property in Mongolia. So it is
Oh, weird.
entirely communal, and there are no fences. It's simply wild. It's very sparsely populated, and the the landscape is so diverse. There are mountains, steppes, plains, deserts, lakes. and we got to experience so much of that. But it's so wide open. It's very high elevation. In that sense, it reminded me of New Mexico, where I grew up, and the mountains, and just the sense of the expanse, which has always drawn me in travel and nature, is giant skies where you can see forever. And it's that has always moved me in the deepest sort of way. So Mongolia delivered that. Now, being the Peace Corps, you're the American in a community that has not seen very many Americans, especially in 1999. Post, they had only just transitioned to a democracy. They'd been communist for 70 years, and very few Americans. So you're in a fishbowl, and what you experience are some high highs and really low lows, which come from the adjustment to living in a different society, a completely different way of thinking, a completely different way of life. And what really helped me to get through some of those lows was the sheer beauty of the landscape and the sky and nature itself. And I took every opportunity that I could to go for long walks, long.
I just love it. I love the fact that even though you were far and things like that, nature helped you stay
Very much.
positive. That's good.
Very much. Yeah.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
just imagine. It
Because
sounds so beautiful. It's like, oh, I want to go
it's
explore it.
spectacular. Yeah, it's spectacular. And Central Asia is like that. It's very remote. It's one of the least visited, at least by Westerners, places in the world. So it was very cool.
Our audience, Tomas, our audience enjoy stories and enjoy stories in nature and enjoy metaphors. I work a lot with my clients in terms of metaphors, because that's how we can understand life better sometimes and make it more relatable. Are there some life lessons you've learned from being in nature, in in the Peace Corps service, or and your travels, and how do you apply those lessons to your everyday life?
Mm. There are many. I'll hit the highlights because I could probably speak about this for an hour or more. But just yeah, I've had a lot of them. Um, I think that the value of making the mental effort to get out, even if it's just for a walk around the block, Tammy, like we were talking about, it's huge. It's making that decision to see and experience something else that is really really helpful. And as far as a metaphor, I was talking a minute ago about the expanse of the desert, of the mountains, of the combination of the two, where you can just see forever. And it wasn't until later on in life, until I was in my 40s, really, where I really figured out why that was such a thing for me growing up, why I was so attracted to the vastness of nature, the desert, the sky. And that it's because that expanse is actually symbolic of who and what we really are. We actually are expansive like that. And that is a symbol that reminds us of our own vastness, of our own magnitude, that we're much larger than just showing up every day and checking email. Not that that's unimportant,
Yeah.
you know.
So,
But
can you tell us a story from the Peace Corps, like some exciting adventure day, or is there hear a
yes.
story? Because I've had other friends that were in the Peace Corps, and it's like, oh my gosh, So, what would a story so that if somebody wanted to join the Peace Corps, they would understand what they were kind of getting themselves into, I guess.
um, well, I think that it really, they once had a slogan in the Peace Corps: it's the toughest job you'll ever love. I think that's an understatement. And
Wow.
it really is. I think that most people that have served in the Peace Corps would agree with that, because it's just such an adjustment to live in another culture, even if the other culture has kind of similar characteristics to the United States. There's still a series of adjustments, but when you go from the United States to a very remote province of Mongolia, it's completely night and day different. But I remember one day, someone that we were working with had a Jeep, which is what was rare that somebody actually had transport and wheels, and drove us out several kilometers out to the west of town into the desert, to a river valley out in the middle of a big, vast desert plain. And I remember that being so beautiful, because you could actually hear the silence. There was no wind, and the silence of the desert, of the steppe, actually was audible. And it was just I made a point of just sitting in that silently as much as I possibly could. You're just so far away from everything and everyone that you can actually hear the air, which we don't get here. We don't get that here in Phoenix. We have jets running overhead, and cars, and noise from the freeway and stuff.
What about that silence captivated you, or what did you compare it to something? Did it cause something within you?
Yes.
There's even silent retreats, and I have friends that have attended silent retreats, and they say the silence is so loud, kind of like a dichotomy, like you just described it. At the same time, I'm intrigued on what was your experience, and if there were any self-discoveries in during those times.
What I felt at that particular time, and other times during the Peace Corps, because there were other times where I had been out on a hike, a long hike, and arrived in the same kind of state. It just felt very, very familiar to me. There was a deep sense of I know this state where we don't hear anything, and then we hear everything because it's loud, and you're just there and present, and I just had the overwhelming sense every time that that's happened to me that I know this state. I just know it. Can't really describe it in words. This is as close as it gets to that.
So,
It's
Mike,
an experience.
so back to my question. What did you guys actually do for the Peace Corps when you were in Magnolia? What did you help with, or what did you work on?
Was it teaching English or?
Yes, it
Mhm.
was. Yes, my role was an English teacher. That was just my job. So it wasn't an 8 or 9 hour workday like we have here in the United States, or longer. It was 3 or 4 hours. That's it. And the rest of the time, your work doesn't end in the Peace Corps, because technically you have a request from the host country. They want you to show up and teach English. You have a job to do. You offer your technical assistance, but the real work never ends, and that is in the cultural exchange. Because you're not only are you an ambassador for yourself and your family and the United States as a whole, but it's all about cultural exchange, and you're always on in the Peace Corps. So to take a hike by yourself, or to just sit quietly and read a book and lock your door and not entertain anybody, because people always want to talk to you, is really helpful. But yeah, it's the cultural exchange, and it's the always sharing with people that is the bulk of the work, really.
Yeah. So I've had students and stuff that I had one, she was in a mission group, and it was a well-known mission group, and she ended up in Rio de Janeiro down in Brazil. And it was not what everybody thinks. It was she was asking for prayer almost daily for protection
Mm.
because of all the shooting, the gangs. And actually, the gangs were the ones that protected her over the police. It was a different, it's like you can't go out at certain times because she watched people get shot in front of her,
Wow.
killed. And so she was telling some different types of stories like that of, because, she was in Italy and nothing really happened, and in other parts of the world, because it's one of those groups that they travel, and I think they have like 3 or 4 places they go to for missions for like 3 months or 6 months at a time. And she was in another area, and she was somebody actually that I had mentored and coached. But I remember she was so scared. It was like, and you could hear in the background, the noise and the bullet,
Mm-hmm.
the shooting and stuff. Did you
That's
have any experiences like that when you were
quite
in the
scary.
Yes, it was.
No, not in Mongolia. That doesn't tend to be a very violent
Sounds
culture.
very peaceful.
It's a lot more peaceful than the United States and Brazil and many other societies. But I have had experiences of shootings taking place um, in Phoenix, actually. My
Oh,
wife
yeah.
and I now live in suburban Phoenix, but at one point we lived in a home in Southwest Phoenix. The neighborhood was absolutely fine when we moved in, but during the course of the 2 years that we lived there, some drug dealers moved in and things started to go south very quickly. One afternoon, right before we moved, I actually saw a kid who was buying drugs get shot. And happily for him, maybe, right, he was only shot in the leg and was able to get away. His friends were they were there buying drugs, of course, with him, and they got caught in a rival gang fight and an interchange of rifle fire at 2:08 p.m. And I was getting ready to back out of my driveway to go run some errands and saw the entire thing. And yeah, so that can happen. I've lived in places that are technically more dangerous than many, and had nothing at all happen to me. But you just don't know.
No,
There's
you don't. So what drove you to become a pastor?
well,
Reverend.
A
I'm
reverend?
not. I'm an ordained minister. I teach a course in miracles, which is a spiritual self-study curriculum. It's universal. It's universally applicable. In other words, anybody can participate in it, regardless of religious or spiritual background. So, what drove me to do that is I just felt I felt called to do that. I found that first of all, the title Reverend or anything like that, or Father or whatever, is actually just a word. But to me, it deepened my own commitment to teaching, which was huge. That's why I did it, because it deepened my commitment to go forth and to share with people, to show up as a guide, which is what I do. And that's what so many people need. Yeah, to deepen my own commitment to practice.
Well, I know whenever I have worked with youth for many years, or when you're teaching something, it's like my commitment, it was always to learn more. And so I would probably do twice the study as if I would compare to when I was taking, because I never would want to teach anybody the wrong thing. So it's amazing how much more you do study when you are teaching, or like when I've led women's Bible studies or different things like that, how much more time and commitment you make, because you want everything, you want to help people, and you want to make sure what you're telling people is the truth, and it is real and will help them.
Right. Yeah, that's an excellent point. I mean, it's the adage, no one ever learns as much as the teacher. That is so true. And yeah, I mean, that's what I've been called to do, is to turn on the camera and microphone and just start sharing. And yeah, that's It's very, very powerful because you always learn as you
Yeah.
do it.
Tomas, I always ask, I usually ask our guests, especially in the name of our show or this Facebook page, is the power of nature and art. What can you tell the audience, the ones that are going to watch this replay, in terms of stopping and smelling the roses? You said something about the habits, the rituals, and the routine of the day, and sometimes we deprive ourselves from doing that and to discover, experience, and transform in different parts of the world, or just with a walk or a drive. So, what can you tell our audience, like if you were selling this to convince someone, especially like a loved one? We're like, don't you understand? You need to stop and just breathe. And because what they're going to miss, what they're neglecting themselves of, like, what can you tell them with this voice of urgency? In a world that's falling apart, in our health, etc. Why is this good for everything? The mind, the spirit, our
Mhm.
souls, our bodies.
It's great for everything because people need you. I mean, really, that's it. People need you to be at your level best on any given day. Now, granted, one day you could be sick or you could be in a bad mental state. So your best on one day is actually going to look different than the and then your best on another day, and that's okay because people need you to show up in the world. There are people out there that only you can reach. I
Wow.
to reach them. None of us will be able to reach them in the same way that you will. These people that you're meant to touch and impact are meant to work with you in some form or another. So what we all need to do is continue to show up and help these people in whatever form we're called to do it. It's because they need you.
And in other words, then what I'm getting at, or what I am understanding from your message is that if we need to show up for others, we need to show up for ourselves first.
Yes.
And then that's how we reboot, reset, right? For us to have a sound mind, for us to have healthy bodies as possible, and for us to be spiritually renewed so that we can then be there for others.
Yes. Yeah, it's being able to continue to pour into others. You actually have to fill the vessel. If it
Mm.
has cracks, you've got to repair the cracks because all the water will leak out. If the vessel's poisonous, you got to dump out the poison, clean it out. And if the vessel has a lid on it, you got to take the lid off so you can pour into it. You have to continue to revitalize, and art is a great way to do it. Even if you can't get out of the house, you can pick up a novel, or you can look at a painting, or you can look at an image of a work of art online. There are many, many different ways to replenish and revitalize, but it's so critical because if you're not at your best, then we're the thing is we're always interacting with each other. Even if we hole ourselves up in a dark room and sit in the closet and think we're hiding away, we are not hiding away. We're always interacting with one another. In other words, we're always both teaching and learning at the same time. So the question for everybody is, what are you teaching? You know, are you at your best?
There's the metaphor, Tomas, the metaphor of the vessel. I love that. And as soon as you mentioned that, we need to repair our own cracks, we need to fill our own vessels, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
my mind went specifically to kintsugi. Have you heard of kintsugi? The
Yes.
Japanese art to
Mhm.
mending or fixing, um, a broken or a cracked container, right? With gold or platinum or silver, and then it just makes that even more precious. So just because we're broken or we're going to hard times, we can mend ourselves. We can mend ourselves and turn those messes into messages, right?
Yeah.
Victimhood into victory, and just renew ourselves so we can then help and strengthen others. I love that. Thanks for sharing.
Yes, of
Well,
course. Yeah.
And time is so precious because people don't think about that. And I was talking to somebody last week about this, and I was like, if we only take one day a week off in a month, that's only 4 times a month that you're actually spending time. I'm like, that really is not that much time. And if you don't even take that, that's not that much. And you just like, if you live in an area where I do, where it's only 4 seasons, it's like, okay, in 3 months' time, that's only 12 times that you're actually getting to go out and enjoy this beautiful summer you've waited all year for. And I don't think people start thinking about that. If it's like how precious it is to even spend time with family or friends. And it's like if you only spend time on holidays, that's only twice a year you're seeing that person. So how, and if people don't live forever, so it's like people don't realize how little time we have in a way, but how precious it is at the same time. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, and Tammy, you've been living that a lot lately. You've been taking so many days off and like holidays. You're like, I'm out of here. I'm gonna go to the lake. I'm gonna go to my secret spot.
The thing is it's only been like once a week, unless I get out in the evening. And I live in the forest, and I work on art. Like I spent 6 hours on an art piece yesterday. But but still I have to leave my place because I have to go and get that quiet. Like Tomas was saying, I have to go to those places where you can't hear anything. I can't hear any sounds in my house, anything electrical. There's no planes flying over really. You don't see anybody, it's just, or if you see somebody, it's okay because they're there for the same purpose as you. And just being able to cast a line out and to fish, even if you don't catch anything, it's just relaxing. Or you have a picnic, or you just sit there and listen to the water. I mean, there's just something about it. Even though my place is designed with waterfalls and streams, I still have to get out. I know people are like, why would you ever leave this place? But it's because I'm reminded when I'm home of what things need to be done.
Mm-hmm. Yes, getting out of that routine, like Thomas said, like if you're in your home, in your own environment, Tammy, I feel you because I want to do something, clean something, work on something, and then stepping away is just like, okay, setting those boundaries for ourselves, setting that, and then just establishing the fact that nope, self-care is self-love. So, Tomas, time goes by fast when we're having fun. This has been a very enlightening conversation. Thanks for sharing what you did and a little bit of a window when you were in Peace Corps. I know you're doing great things right now. What is it that you're doing currently? You teach that class? Anything else you are doing?
Yes, the Course in Miracles is it's a self-study curriculum. So what I'm doing is mostly online. I do teach a workshop once a month in the Phoenix area, and then people are welcome to ask me about that if you happen to be here. That's on the third Monday of every month in Tempe. So maybe when it's cooler, and because it's gorgeous for the next 9 months. So there's that. But a lot of it is online, predominantly on YouTube. I've been teaching this in both in person and virtually for several years, and just to help people become inspired to put these ideas and these teachings into practice in their daily life, because it's all about practical application, really. It's one thing to read a book or study or learn something with the intellectual thinking mind, but then we discover how limited that is, that we need to experience it. So the more I'm able to encourage people and demystify some of the concepts, which are actually extremely simple, the better.
And what is it the based on? Like we experience miracles every day, all the time, just a matter of opening our eyes to them, or is
Well,
that the essence?
yes, yes, and it's actually the fact that we're all capable of miracles. We think of miracles as something like walking on water or moving, I mean, literally moving mountains with the power of your own thought. People look at Star Wars and Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda and things like that. And it's actually a lot more accessible than that. Part of the message is each and every single one of us is, in fact, a miracle worker. And that is true because a miracle is any change in mind from darkness to light. Or you can
That's
characterize that
beautiful.
however you want, illusion to truth, from the ego to God, or whatever it is. Any shift at all is, in fact, a miracle. And any expression of love, however small and insignificant it may seem, even smiling at your neighbor and saying good morning to them, is, in fact, a miracle. So each and every one of us, in fact, is capable of this.
That is profound. That is amazing. That is
Well,
amazing.
and if you notice, we are on our website behind Lori, discover, experience, and transform. We believe in discovering you because you learn, but you also have to experience it in order to transform. So you have to go through those. And so every course that we teach is on those lines. It's like we're having a North Idaho mastermind up here for one day on September 14th. So and it's like if somebody's stuck, you know, it's like how they get in those you get in those modes where you can't do anything or you feel like, oh, where do I start? This class, this day is for you. It's a way for the people to come out and discover and then experience to help them transform or to get going. And every one of our retreats, adventures is for that. So, and we try to even incorporate that in our articles and our stories so people can see. But we want to meet people in person. You know, it's like, yeah, you can learn a lot, like you said, from courses online and stuff, but it's even better in person. So
the application of it, the human interaction, the connections, it's just worth the effort. Tomás, thank you so much for being here. If you have questions for him, he's going to be around, or check the comments later on. Welcome. We want to welcome you to our group of Power of Art and Nature. And then we are grateful you came to talk with us in this Tuesday talk in Unlocking Freedom in Nature and Art. So Tammy, any
yeah,
other
we want to
words or
just thank
reminders?
yeah, we want to just thank every single person for being here. And I know a lot of you are busy, and most people watch this later. So just leave your comments. We appreciate you, Tomas, for being here. Um, be sure to check out our website, unlockingfreedominnature.com. We have so many different things going on there. And of course, I've been posting right now. Our latest thing is our mastermind where Lori's going to fly up here to North Idaho.
Yay.
And we are going to spend the day. And we're offering a lot that day. And so if you want some free coaching advice and mentoring, well, it's not completely free, but it's a low, low price.
With
So
great food, great company. Yep.
Yeah, includes food, company, includes a lot of different things. So be sure to check it out. And so thanks everyone for being here. Make sure you share and like. Let's get this up to over 1,000.
Yay.
We're almost to 500. Let's get there. So we love it. We thank you so much, Tomas, and make sure you guys share and like. Have a great week.
We'll see you next week.